So you want to learn Mandarin Chinese. It's an amazing goal, but let's be real, it has a reputation for being, well, pretty tough. In this explainer, we're going to break down the biggest hurdles that learners face based on what thousands of people have told us, and more importantly, we're going to give you the solutions for each one. You know that feeling when you're staring up at the sheer scale of it all, the tones, the characters, the grammar, and you just think, how will I ever get there? If you felt that, you should know that feeling is completely normal.
But here's the good news. That mountain, it is absolutely climbable. And you don't have to figure out the path all by yourself. We've basically got your map right here. We'll guide you through the trickiest parts, with strategies that are proven to work.
Okay, so where do we even start? We start with the absolute fundamentals. These are the building blocks that everything else is going to rest on. If you get these right, the whole journey gets so much smoother.
Let's talk about tones first, because this is where a lot of people get stuck. They aim for this flawless, perfect, native-like pronunciation right from day one. But here's the secret. You should go for accuracy, not perfection. It is totally okay to have an accent. In fact, even native speakers mess up tones sometimes, and you know what? Context almost always saves the day and makes your meaning clear.
And this story is the perfect example. So in Pinyin, which is the system for writing out Chinese sounds, the word for oranges, that's juicy, is just one little tone change away from sentences, which is juicy. A mix-up like that leads to a pretty funny story, right? Not some huge communication breakdown. You learn, you laugh, and you move on. So don't let the fear of making little mistakes hold you back.
All right, now for grammar. There are really two ways to go about this. The old school way is memorizing all these abstract grammar rules, which honestly can be really boring and not very effective. The better way is to just acquire grammar naturally. When you see words used in real, meaningful sentences over and over again, your brain just starts to pick up on the patterns without you even trying.
So, once you've got those foundational skills in place, it's time to actually use the language. And that brings us to our next section, how to fuel your immersion engine and get all that important input.
Listening, oh boy, this can be one of the most frustrating skills to build. Think about it. With reading, you can go slow, you can look up a word, you can piece things together. But with listening, it's all coming at you in real time. It kind of feels like a light switch. Either you get it or you're just completely in the dark. A huge hurdle with listening and reading, especially for beginners, is just finding stuff that's at the right level for you. Early on, you just can't understand a lot of the cool native level content. That's why things like graded readers are just absolute gold. They're literally designed to build you up one step at a time.
Now, as you get better, you're going to face what feels like a storm of native-level material. And there's this really great analogy for how to approach it. See, when a storm rolls in, cows will try to run away from it. By doing that, they actually end up staying in the rain and misery for longer.
But buffaloes, they do the exact opposite. They charge right into the storm. Yeah, it's intense and it's difficult, but by facing it head-on,
They get through to the other side way faster. So the point is, be the buffalo. Dive into that difficult podcast or that TV show. Just accept that you're not going to get everything, but know that by facing that challenge, you are speeding up your progress like you wouldn't believe.
Okay, this next section, this might be the most important one of all. Because a lot of the time, the biggest obstacles aren't the tones or the characters. They are all in our own heads.
A huge mental hurdle is just plain uncertainty. You're always asking yourself, am I doing the right thing? Is this even working? The best way to fight that feeling is to have a reliable framework. Look, language learning isn't magic. It's a really clear three-stage process.
First, you build your foundation. Then, you get tons and tons of input through immersion. And finally, you activate your skills by actually speaking and writing. So whenever you feel lost, this model is your compass. Just ask yourself, okay, which stage am I on right now? And it'll tell you what to do next.
Now, even when you have a clear plan, progress can feel painfully slow. You're putting in the hours day after day, but you just don't feel like you're getting any better. This is a classic thing, and it actually has a name. It's called the Valley of Disappointment.
We all expect our progress to look like this nice, straight line going steadily up. But in reality, learning a language is more like planting a bamboo tree. For the longest time, it feels like nothing is happening on the surface. But underneath, this massive root system is growing. And then, all of a sudden, you hit this huge surge of ability. You have to trust that your daily effort is building those roots, even when you can't see the growth yet.
So, What do you do when you're stuck in that valley? The solution is simple, but it's not always easy. You just have to increase the volume. If your listening feels stuck, challenge yourself to listen for an extra 30 hours this month. If your speaking feels weak, book 10 hours with a tutor. The best way to get over that feeling of not making progress is to just do more of the thing you're struggling with. You gotta outwork your self-doubt.
And that brings us to the final, and by far the biggest challenge of them all. This is the one thing that separates the people who make it from the people who give up.
We've heard from over 15,000 learners on this, and it's not even a contest. The number one challenge, the final boss of language learning, if you will, is one simple thing.
It's consistency. It's just showing up day after day, week after week, especially when life gets crazy. Juggling work, family, everything else, while still trying to find time for Chinese, that is the mountain that most people fail to climb.
So, how do you conquer consistency? Well, it really comes down to 4 things. First, you have to find a really powerful why, something beyond just, I want to learn Chinese. Connect it to an experience you really, really want. Second, connect with real people. Having regular conversations is a huge motivator. Third, make Chinese learner part of your identity. And finally, you have to build a rock-solid habit by making your study time an obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying part of your day.
Because at the end of the day, it's not the grammar rules or how many characters you know that keeps you going. It's the human connection. It's being able to tell a joke that makes a whole room of people laugh, or helping someone order a coffee, or reading a story to a child. Those are the real experiences that fuel this journey.
So, the question I want to leave you with isn't just how to learn Chinese, but why you're learning it. Forget the obstacles for a second and just think about those moments of connection you want to have. That's the real prize. So, what amazing story will you make possible?